And we're live. Hey everyone, Soundly here. I'm here with Conspiracy Cats, A.K.A Baldy Catz, and welcome.
Hiya, yeah, thanks for having us. How are you doing? You all right?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah, really good, really good.
Well, thanks for coming on. I
Yeah,
really
pleasure to be
appreciate
on.
it.
Oh, mate, thanks for asking. I've been looking forward to this all day. I saw the one you did with Simon Dan last week, and really enjoyed it. Looking forward to your next one as well. I think it's a great like addition to the channel. This kind of stuff. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
including
I
me. I appreciate
appreciate
it.
that. Yeah, I'm going to hopefully keep doing this consistently on Mondays. Mondays seem to be a good time when no one else is doing anything, so I'm claiming that day. It's my day now.
Soundly Mondays.
That's right. So, I guess the first thing I want to know is just kind of, without doxing yourself, just kind of tell us like your background and like what made you aware of flat Earth and, what made you decide, hey, I'm going to start a channel, not just one channel, two channels.
Well, sorry, just to go live before I start coughing. So, yeah, I've just finished. I was a teacher for about 17 years teaching science in school. And last year, one of the kids come up to me and they'd seen one of Dell's videos, you know, the one where he sprays water on a football.
Oh, gosh,
And
yes.
it said, yeah, it's a great video. And they asked me about the Earth being flat. And of course, I said, no, the Earth isn't flat. And then the kid walked away. And I thought, well, maybe there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity where if I maybe speak to some flat earthers on the internet, the kids can watch the interview. And then when I go back in school, they'd be like, oh, sir, I saw you on the internet. And it might engage them a little bit more. They might want to ask more questions and it might make them a little bit more interested in science. Now, that didn't work, but I suppose they weren't really that interested, I'll be honest. But when I did that, I'm sure you're familiar with Sleeping Warrior.
Yes.
Well, he was the guy who I sort of stumbled across on the internet. We had an arrangement. I said, listen, this is what I want to do for the kids I teach, and if you send me some questions, I'll give you some sort of answer. And then I said, you can respond. You can give me whatever response you want, and I will not argue with you. I'll not rebut. You can say what you want to say. I'm not here to trap you. And he said the biggest load of rubbish that I ever heard in my entire life. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I sat there, I was having to bite my tongue. And then he put the video. I think he gave it to Celebrate Truth, who advertised it as science teacher gets schooled or something like that. And I thought, you bugger, So that kept me, well, let's start up let's have my say properly. And that's what.
Ooh, sorry about that. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. My dogs decided to go a little crazy. Hopefully, you aren't hearing them too bad through the door now. But are they still?
No.
Are they still coming through?
I can barely hear him.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have an extensive history with Sleeping Warrior. He actually had a channel under his real name, which everybody knows. So I don't feel bad saying it. But he had a channel under his real name, and he actually said, "I will delete my channel within the next 24 hours, and I will be here lurking in the background." It was really crazy. And he basically outed himself within the week as Sleeping Warrior. I mean, it was that fast. So yeah, we have an extensive background or history with Sleeping Warrior, as he was, trying to come up with every excuse possible for why the transmission lines weren't actually curving over the horizon as we expect them to. Anyway, well, I think it's interesting. Let's go down this road a little further with the kids, because if I recall correctly, a kid recently did recognize you. Is that correct?
Yeah, you saw. Yeah, just this week. Yeah, I got a. Yeah, you're fast with that. How? Oh, was that Twitter? Yes. Yeah, I got a message and they deleted it within because I looked for the message and it wasn't there. But somebody posted a message and said, "Oh, this guy's my science teacher." And I thought, what? So I clicked, and the message had been deleted. And I thought, well, maybe it's someone having a laugh, maybe a joke. But what happened was one of the teachers that I actually work with, he's the only person in school that knows that I do this. And he'd been watching one of my videos on the work computer. And when the kids had gone into the classroom and put the projector up, my video like was paused, and they were like, "Is that Mr. So and So?" And they've gone off, they've Googled it, so it's not even one kid now; it's all of them.
Oh wow!
But I have now finished, so that's fine. But that was a shock. But they were quite good about it, And they were pretty switched on, and they were saying, I think they'd seen the video within REM, and they'd seen the videos with the planes going over the globe, and even they at their age could see just the basic, just the nonsense behind it,
right? Exactly.
And I think, well, somebody who's 12, 13 can see it.
Well, that actually brings up a point I wanted to go. Let me skip ahead here a little bit. I noticed that you've spoken about this. I'm not even really sure how to pronounce it. The Fouquet word.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think I get it wrong every time.
Yeah. So Fouquet word, right? He speaks with this confidence, right? It's this arrogant tone of confidence, like he's a teacher. He speaks like a teacher. My question for you is, do you think he actually believes the nonsense he's saying? Or and this kind of more in general, a lot of them that do act like this, do you think they actually believe the nonsense they're saying? Or do you think they have some reason for doing it that's, unrelated to the actual belief?
That's a good question. Puckett Word, or however you pronounce it himself, I'm not sure. I know I've been speaking to someone, Clear Cognition on YouTube, who's a flat earther that Fight the Flat Earth interviewed. And he said to me there were numerous flat earthers he's had conversations with who just admitted to him openly while he was in that scene that they just didn't believe in flat earth, and they were just doing it for views. They were doing it for money, and so I think he's, slowly going to be out in them. Puckett, what I don't know. I think there are some that do. I think a lot of the, I think Anthony Riley, sorry, yeah, everyone knows his name, so I'll try and keep away from names. But sorry, I think he genuinely does. I've had a lot of conversations with him, but I think people like him hang on the word of other people, and I think that's why we do what we do to try and stop those vulnerable people that are easily confused from following some alpha male on the internet, in a shed banging away, shouting words, and so yeah, I think it's a mix. I think there's some followers. I think there's some deceivers.
I wouldn't consider Dill an alpha male. That's an insult to alpha males.
I think he considers himself.
Maybe I don't know.
I think there's a good mix. What about yourself? Have you ever met one and you thought, or spoke to one and thought, yeah, you really do believe this? Or
at first I actually thought Jaron was one of those guys. I honestly thought that Jaronism believed what he was saying. Until a couple things he kind of slipped up on, where he revealed that, it kind of like, if you've seen that documentary, Behind the Curve, is that it? Behind the Curve? And right at the very end of it, he says, if we see this, then it's a globe. If we see this, then it's a flat planet, flat Earth. And we saw the evidence for a globe. And at that point, I have a real hard time believing anybody that's honest, like intellectually honest, can really still believe it. I think they may try and hold on to it, maybe like a lingering faith-based idea, like a cult type idea, but I don't think they actually at their core still believe it. So I think at that point, that's been over a year now that Jaron did that, and so I kind of think he might be just going with it for views at this point.
I think so. I think it's harder. It must be even worse when if you did genuinely believe it at one point and you've built this massive online, because he's got over 125,000 subscribers, isn't he?
It's a lot. I don't know. It's a lot. Yeah, him and Glowbusters both jointly. I mean, they kind of work hand in hand. They have a lot between them.
They do, and when you spent all that time building that, it's almost like you can't possibly be wrong, because if you are, you are wrong spectacularly in front of the entire world. That's how it must feel, mustn't it? For them. And
well, yeah, they start incorporating this belief into their person, into their personality, what makes them up as a person. And when you believe so much nonsense, to call yourself on it is basically like to burn away 98% of your personality and start over. And that's got to be a painful process, you know? So I do have a little sympathy for, you know, the ones that truly do genuinely believe it. I think that process that they go through is a hard one. Sean G comes to mind. He just recently converted. And
that's true. He actually has he?
Yeah.
Because I saw someone post that, and I thought they were trolling him. So he has actually come out. How recent was that?
Very like last month. So yeah, he basically put out this video, and in the video, he was almost coming to tears because he felt like you could see it. You know, you could see that he's like having to give up this part of his person. You know, and it was definitely hard on him. And I had sympathy on guys like that. You know, it's got to be a hard thing to go through.
It's got to be, and I think one of the things that people really, I mean, obviously I've never been a flat earther, but I can imagine if you are, there's all this mystery and fantasy about the world, and it feels a more special place than it is, you know, and then to realize you're wrong and realize everything is just normal, you know, and there's no big secret, mundane, exactly. And you know, so it's not just the belief of the shape of the earth; it's having all that snatched away from you as well, isn't it? And that's got to be hard.
Yeah. The belief that, you know, this struggle that you're going through, which is life, which everybody has to experience, that there's something out there that's going to make everything better. You know, just as soon as it's disclosed, just as soon as everybody figures this out, everything's going to be better. That's what they have built up in their mind.
Exactly.
And it's really hard for them to let that go. And when they do, it's a letdown. It's a sad moment for them. It's also a healthy moment for them. But
that's it. And I think that. Sorry, go on.
No, go.
Oh no, in terms of being a healthy moment, I agree. You know, like we were saying off air, I think the reason that we do what we do is to stop people going down that track and being ridiculed. You know, and I know that sounds hypocritical because, you know, I do ridicule people. That sounds, you know, it sounds hypocritical. But if we can stop people from going down that route, then they're not going to have to face those hard choices and those, you know, those shattering moments.
Right. They're not going to destroy their family. They're not going to, you know, lose their kid and wife and things like that. That's exactly right. That's why I do it. I mean, I've said that before. Yeah. All right. So go ahead.
No, sorry. I think it's a lag. I keep talking over you. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to move to the next topic, but if you want to say something, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, basically, when you're talking about people destroying the families and stuff, that's what makes it even more infuriating when you've got people that maybe run a flat earth debate show or something like that are in it for the money and don't really believe what they're saying, but yet, you know, they're cashing in and it's other people who are vulnerable and are latching onto everything they're saying. It's them who's getting destroyed.
It's interesting that you should bring up that show because that was my next question for you.
Oh, right.
Nice segue.
Thank you.
So I'm really curious about this because maybe I just haven't seen the video. Maybe I missed one of your videos. I don't know. But what started this whole Nathan Oakley is just hating on you so bad? Like what? Where did that come from?
Well, long story, but when I first, you know, the whole classroom thing with me meeting Sleeping Warrior and chatting to him, there was a spell with Sleeping Warrior in those first maybe 2 months where we were on Skype and I was probably texting him on Skype, messaging him and we were having proper civil conversation, you know, and he was talking about the show and I'd listen to the show and I wouldn't agree with it, but we'd have civil conversation. And then he invites me on the show one day to talk about, you know, how pressure works. And after I must have been on for about a minute, maybe a minute and a half, and Nathan he muted me and started screaming and shouting. And at that point I thought, I won't swear, but I thought, you know,
you actually went on his show. That's where
I went.
Okay, that's what I missed. That's what I missed. I missed you actually being on his show. So actually, after this, if you know the episode, tell me the episode because I might actually go watch that.
Yeah, I've got the episode and I made a video on it.
Okay, I'll watch that one. Yeah, give me a link.
It has the clip. Yeah, it's got the clip of me being on. Yeah, but I was on for maybe like a minute, and he started ranting and raving. And at that point, I thought, well, I know what he's like, so I just said, "See you later," and then immediately made that bit. And the ironic thing is, this is what really gets Nathan's goat. This is why he's really upset, because when I first started, he gave me a shout out on his show when I had literally no subscribers. You know, he said, "Oh, Sleeping Warrior's got this internet friend, Conspiracy Catz. Go and subscribe to him." A day later, I had 150 subscribers. So thanks for the advert.
Yeah, thanks for that.
And then,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
And then when we fell out, and I made that video about him, he was absolutely trolling. He must have posted. They were all in my spam folder, and I released them all. About 1,500 comments on my channel. Literally, he went absolutely nuts, and he spammed it with the same one. So he boosted all my engagement stats, and I made the video about him. And suddenly, that's where my subscribers started to go. So I wound him up a bit. I said, "Oh, thanks for the advert, Nathan. You know, my subscribers are going up." Nice. And then more recently, with Anthony making that the Mount St. Helens Mount Rainier.
Yes, exactly. I love that observation. Yeah.
Well, he obviously tried to debunk that last week, and I made a video about him and Ranty debunking me, and that's been my best video ever. And I've bagged 1,500 subscribers in the past week because of that. So again, every time Nathan opens his mouth, he gains me subscribers. So thanks for the advert, Nathan. If you're watching, it's great.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe I should just go antagonize Nathan.
Yeah, he'll boost your channel. He'll send you viral.
All right. So, okay. So speaking of this, what is this? You know, there's got to be like some type of metaphorical meaning behind your stuffed animals and the Coke can. Like,
oh yeah.
How do you decide to pick how do you decide to pick this specific stuffed animal, or is it just random?
No. It's I do think about it. So the cat was obviously Nathan, but when I introduced it on the video, and this is really me being immature, but it was after he fell out. I fell out with him, and he refused to step up and debate me on a neutral channel. So it's not a cat, it's a little pussy. That's what it was. That's how I introduced it. So that was Nathan, and then another guy who was acting like just a little girl. He was pecking away in the comments, and because he was pecking away like a little girl, I got the My Little Pony doll, for him. Digital Plague is the Coke can, because he was banging on about how the ISS must have, because it's bigger and has more air in it, the pressure inside the ISS must be many, 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 many times bigger than the pressure inside a Coke can. So the ISS should explode in space. So that's where the Coke can come for him. The two balls I've got, and that's the last one at the minute, is Colorado Forest Beans. He backed down from a debate with me after, because we bet. I said, if you can prove, I think it was prove Bigfoot or something, or if whoever wins, we said the other one would delete the channel, but he had an outlandish claim, and he backed off. So I've got a pair of balls for him, and I've put them on the shelf because I thought that's what he was missing. So there's always a reason.
So you're saying you got his balls in a box?
But got his balls in a box. Yeah, he didn't like that. But it's all friendly fun. I don't mean to be personal.
I know.
It probably comes across that way.
Yeah, hopefully they can take it that way, but just not take yourself serious. But I find a lot of them do take themselves very serious. So it's,
well, you don't end up on that shelf unless you are. Yeah, exactly. You don't end up on that shelf unless you're being aggressive.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, they get their feelings hurt and start crying, and that's when I come out with videos. So, okay, so we already actually talked about that. Okay, so yeah, this is actually Ranty. I wanted to talk to you specifically about Ranty because it's amazing to me that Ranty just keeps producing globe evidence like over and over, and like if it was just once, that'd be one thing, or maybe even twice. But 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, he's producing globe evidence over and over again. Is he an undercover globe shield? I mean, what's going on here? Like, they can't actually look at this stuff and genuinely believe that it's flat Earth evidence. And so then my next question is, are they intentionally shortcutting observations? Or not shortcutting, but short-circuiting the impact of observations, because it's almost like they're going out and intentionally taking globe Earth observations and then calling them flat, so that if anybody else goes out and does the observation, you can't call it a globe.
I think that's exactly what they're doing.
You think that's what they're doing?
Exactly, definitely agree, because they talk about this compression, and I mean, I love the fact that he'll take a photograph of a mirage, and then he'll show the boat going over horizon with absolutely no mirage. And then he'll say, well, look, there must be a mirage because there was another one on that other photo. You know, and this compression and you know, apply like you say, applying it to absolute perfect globe proof, but then claiming, like you said, it's flat Earth proof. It makes absolutely no sense, does it? Absolutely no sense.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. I mean, what they're doing recently is and this is what I find. I actually use this to my advantage. What they've been doing recently is trying to explain why a flat plane looks exactly like a globe every time you look at it. Like that's what they've been trying to do. It's like, hello.
Well, did you hear Sleeping Warrior when he debated Miles Davis?
No, I didn't.
Well, he literally said, right, I kid you not, Miles was talking about his photograph with the bridge and the horizon in the background. And Sleeping Warrior was backed into a corner and he said that no matter how big a lens is, no matter how wide it is, no matter how dense it is, whatever its refractive index is, no matter the shape, right, any lens in the world does this thing he'd heard called collimation that obviously he didn't understand. And he said it makes the horizon drop, but all of them make it drop by the same amount. So it fits a globe of the radius 6,731 kilometers. He literally said that. And at that point, Miles Davis was like, well, yeah, you don't need to say anymore. And he couldn't see why what he said was ridiculous.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like it's almost like they go like to this online bullshit generator and they hit the button and then they read it off. And what do you say to that? I mean, what do you say to it? It's just a gobbledygook words. It's like you can't make any sense out of the word salad. It's like hello, but they say it with a straight face and they act like they know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating bit, isn't it? They're so certain. They're so certain about it, but they can't explain a single thing.
Right. Exactly.
You know, that's the frustrating thing.
Or ask them to come up with a test. Ask them to actually come up with a hypothesis. You know, let's go test this thing.
Yeah.
No, they won't do it. Oh, we don't have a model. We don't have a model.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we're not claiming anything.
But then you're not doing science. Congratulations.
Well, that's another cop out, isn't it? Like,
go ahead.
You know, the claim, we're not making a claim. You're making the claim. Prove it. Well, we don't need to prove it because everyone accepts the world's a globe. You know, but that's like you said. They don't have a model. They don't want to test it because we're not making any claims. Well, you're claiming the Earth's not a globe.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have the conventional model. If you want to come up with an alternative, then you have to prove that and prove why your model is better than the conventional model. And regardless, anyway, we have photographs from space. I mean, we know it's a globe. Direct evidence. I mean, they like to throw that stuff out, but I always come back to that. Like, why? Why do we let them throw that stuff out? Just because it's from NASA? I mean, Jax has it. Russia has it. China has it. I mean, it's not just NASA. You know, everybody has photographs from space now. So yeah, you don't get to throw that away. You don't get to throw away like hundreds of thousands of photographs from Hemo Warrior 8. Sorry, no. Every one of them exactly perfect every 10 minutes. No, you don't get to throw that away.
Yeah.
We get to hold it over your head and call you crazy. All right, let's see what I have here. Oh, okay. There's something interesting about your videos. It's just more of a style thing, and I was curious. This is something maybe just I'm more interested in just because I'm creating videos. But I have a tendency to like over-explain things. Like whenever somebody, some flat earther says something, you know, like it's perspective, right? And I'll have a tendency to over-explain it and be like, no, this is how perspective works, and you know, go into the details, show a graph, blah blah blah. But I notice you have a tendency to go, let them say it's perspective, and then you're like, really? Okay. Yeah. You know, and that's about it. And you just leave it at that. Do you think that they just, you know, that their nonsense just speaks for itself? Is that why you react that way?
No, to be honest, that's a really good question because at the minute I'm still trying to decide because my channel is quite new. It's just grown a bit faster than I thought. When I first started, and I've deleted a couple of the early ones now, but I did go into the science a bit more. But there were people that thought water was an element, and I talked about the science about electrolysis, etc. But when I watched them back, I bored myself. I was watching them, and I didn't really like them. But I wanted to have the science in, but then I didn't want it to be boring. So that's where the Baldy Catz channel come from. I thought I can do all the boring stuff on that. And if there's something that comes up in a conspiracy cats video, like a perspective, an absolute, an angular size, etc., I can do a really boring video for anyone who wants to watch it on Baldy Catz.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Doing the science, but keep the conspiracy cats more fun. And it might not work. People might not. I mean, I don't know what people's thoughts are at the minute. It's going well, but I don't know how I'm going to fit, whether I'll stick with that or merge them back together again.
I don't dislike that idea, because I actually wanted to do more of my observations from a photographic standpoint, and I wanted to share more of the photography that I like doing. I like doing wildlife photography as well. And at one point I put it on Soundly, the Soundly channel. People didn't really watch it. They didn't care about the wildlife photography. That the people that are interested in that channel are interested in the flat earth debunking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I have thought about doing a photography channel just for the photography itself, because a lot of the photography I've done is really unique. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of the causeway like I have, so, being able to put that out there for more like the photography minded crowd, I think it would be beneficial. And I like doing the science as well. Like I actually did a equinox about a year ago now. It was, I guess it was fall equinox 2017. And I built this giant rig. I had a camera mounted to a telescope mount, was tracking the sun. I had a clock, and I'll link you to the video. And I really liked that video. And Wolfie liked that video, but a lot of people didn't like the video, on my channel. I think it was maybe too sciencey. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of people that really reacted. There was a lot of people that reacted positively, but there were other people that were just like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah. And so I have thought about doing a separate channel that's just does not mention the word flat earth, but presents my observations and stuff just for the sake of the fun of it. Like the science aspect of the equinox is pretty cool. A lot of people would be really interested in that. And like the time lapse I did in 360 video and all that stuff as part of the observation, where they feel like they can actually be there and observe it. I think people would enjoy that are into, astronomy, for example. So I think so. I've thought about the same thing. I think it's a good idea.
Much. Sorry, cool.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea what you're doing, the Baldy Catz thing.
You've already got so much photography. You could start a channel tomorrow, and you could have, you could have a dozen videos up, couldn't you, really quickly? And I think people, like I say, people would really be into that.
Right. I really could. I mean, I do have so much photography and video now that I could just start a photography channel tomorrow and have just unlimited content for like a year. Like I could just put out a video twice a week, and I really could do that. And there might be people interested in it. I don't know. We'll see. I've thought about doing it for sure. Yeah, okay, I asked you that. We talked about Phuket Word. Okay, this is the one thing. Let's go back to Phuket Word for a second, because he's a guy that, like, if the guy is genuine, he's like a living example of Dunning-Kruger. I mean, that's what you would expect from Dunning-Kruger, right? He has just top-notch confidence about something he has no idea what he's talking about. Yeah. And my question for you is, and this is a question I've had in the back of my head for a while, is there like a lower threshold of stupidity that a human being cannot go below without realizing it's stupid? Because we're getting into some stuff these days that is just so dumb that I really have a hard time believing that they're genuine and that they actually believe it. Because there's no way a human being could. Like, that's the way I feel about it. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
I used to work when I was it was work experience when I was really, really young, in a hospital that had a big mental patient ward. And I used to be allowed to sit in with the outpatients that come in, and they all seemed really normal. They were absolutely fantastic, but they all had one thing that they were really fixated on. So one guy, for example, thought he was James Bond. I'm going back over 20 years now, so they won't know I'm talking about them. But one guy thought he was James Bond, and he couldn't see why that was crazy. But the person sat next to him that thought she'd been abducted by aliens, he could see how crazy she was, and she could see how crazy he was. But their own their own thing they had, they just couldn't see it, but they could see how crazy everyone else is. And I think kind of, yeah, I think that's the reason some of these flat earthers say stuff that's so dumb. But then when somebody else says it, you get all the infighting between them, because there's quite a bit of infighting between flat earthers about your model sucks, this isn't right, that's right, because they can see how crazy other people are. But right, I don't think they can see it in themselves, and I've experienced that firsthand.
That's a bit scary, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Again, going back to that documentary that recently came out, the Behind the Curve documentary, Patricia, like she basically described herself as in like these people that believe conspiracy theories, even though they're not true. But because they believed it about her, she realized how conspiratorial minded they were and how it made no sense what they were thinking. And then she even took the next step, which was, makes me wonder if what I believe is true or not. But then that thought seemed to just escape her mind. And the very next thing she said was to confirm her own beliefs. It's like, wow. Like she actually had a moment of self-awareness and then she like swallowed it,
just vanished.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is a bit scary that you could do that. And it does make you think about yourself. I mean, like, what beliefs do I have that are just nonsense? Because if I have any belief that's like what they're doing, I want somebody to tell me because I want to stop doing it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's that ability to evaluate your own, to reflect on your own thoughts and reflect on your own beliefs and and critically, maybe that's it. Maybe that is what's missing. It certainly was with the people I had experience with. I'm not saying they're all ill, but maybe there's like a spectrum and they're slightly on the edge of that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that does make sense. I mean, if you haven't read Mick West's new book, which is Escaping the Rabbit Hole, I highly suggest you do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be. I've read it already once. I'm going to be reading it again. I'm going to be interviewing Mick after the New Year, or right before the New Year, New Year's Eve, on my channel, and I was hoping to actually do a book review before he came on. But I don't know if it's going to work out or not. But I'm going to try. And one of the things that he talks about is the demarcation line. Like there's a demarcation line for conspiracies where on the right side you have the most crazy conspiracy, like lizard people are walking among us type thing. And then on the left side you have like the least crazy, like big pharma is selling the drugs we don't really need because they're trying to make money off of us, something like that. And that everybody has a demarcation line. Some people are all the way, they don't think big pharma is selling us anything. And some people are like 9/11 people, but flat earth is completely crazy. And some people are like on the right side of that, where flat earth's fine, but lizard people is ridiculous, and I really think that makes sense to me, because that's where you were talking about infighting earlier. That's where I see the infighting coming from, is all the flat earthers have these different demarcation lines, and they see anything to the right of their demarcation line is bonkers, but they can't see that what they're thinking is bonkers too, from the left side. And
that's a good point. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely agree with that. Bang on. Definitely.
Worth a read. Check it out. It's on Kindle.
What was it called?
It's called Escaping the Rabbit Hole.
Escaping the Rabbit Hole, right?
By Mick West. That's all. So, he's the guy that runs MetaBunk. If you've ever
clever guy, isn't he? Clever guy.
Oh yeah, he's clever. Yeah, he's been on Joe Rogan a couple of times too.
Is he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's actually been on Joe Rogan a couple of times because Joe's friend, what's his name? Eddie Bravo.
Eddie Bravo.
Yeah. Eddie Bravo is into the conspiracy stuff and believes the Earth is flat, and so he'd bring him on there to talk about chemtrails and flat Earth and stuff like that. It's definitely interesting. There's a couple interesting interviews if you want to go check it out.
Cool.
Well, I have run out of questions. We do have a lot of chatter going off in the chat over here, and I wanted to maybe back up and see if anybody has questions for you, or if you are listening currently and you're in the chat and you have questions mention both me and Conspiracy Cats so we can look at it and see it. Otherwise, we might miss it. So just if you've already asked it, ask it again. And that way we can just get all of them down at the very bottom and we can ask the questions that way. I don't see. I think I've actually lost the earlier chat right now. Let me see. Some people saying hello. Earth is a sphere. Terry Davis, Factard, welcome. I am Rick, Clive Adams, Kaiser Cube. Good to see you guys. Let's see. Scrolling. Kaiser Cube says his non-science videos consist of making food that not even your dog would eat and playing pranks on my boss. Channel Q has an interesting thought here. I always wondered what would happen if Ranty took the ferry to Isle of Man and recorded the whole time. I don't speak to him. Are there any equivalent ideas you could do? Yes, there is an almost exactly equivalent idea that me and Dandy Panty have been working on. And that is a trip across the causeway while keeping basically the same aspect ratio of the city of New Orleans in view the whole time. So it would start off as a wide angle and end up as a very long focal length telephoto. But that's what we want to do. So we are going to be practicing that in the week prior to the January 4th, 5th, and 6th observations. And we're hoping to capture that exact thing right there. That's what we want to capture. Sally, give Busted Shark a big plug. Busted Shark, big plug. There you go. All right. People just responding. Okay, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. I'm scrolling to the bottom, guys. So leave your questions down at the bottom, please. Let's see. Hey, Simon Dan was here. Yeah, Simon Dan. Hey, Simon Dan. How's it going? What did he say? I'm supposed to ask you from Simon Dan why Blackburn is such shit.
We're sleeping giants. He knows that. Thanks, Dan. I think.
That's football, right?
It is, but I think I posted something when he was on your interview last week about Southampton.
Yeah,
he's got his own back there. Yeah, cheers, Dan.
The Creaky Blinder is saying hello.
Oh, hey, Creaky Blinder. He's got I think a relatively new channel, but it's good stuff. That definitely recommend watching that.
Yeah, I saw that he jumped into Twitter. There, our little Twitter group. I'll have to check out his work. Okay. Somebody actually responded to me. That guy said, "Sally, you're crazy is God." With all due respect, that's because I'm a Christian. That's why he's saying that.
Well, I've got a question for you on that.
Okay.
Because a lot of there's a certain aspect of flat earthers that have it in like religious beliefs. You know, what was your stance on that? You know, people believing in the flat earth but interpreting it from the Bible. Like, where's that come from?
Yeah, so I actually did a video on what was the guy's name, the basketball player that came out first, Kyrie Irving. So when Kyrie Irving came out, I did a video like directed at him, which of course he never saw. But it really comes down to this: truth is truth, and if I can directly look at the earth and see that it's a sphere, it doesn't matter what the Bible says. Like, the Bible doesn't get to dictate reality. It's reality that the Bible has to conform to, and if it doesn't, then it's discredited. You know, that's all there is to it. At least that portion of the Bible has to be discredited. So, in my opinion, what flat earthers are doing is actually directly discrediting the Bible, because their interpretation does that. That if they're going to stick to their interpretation, then they're discrediting the Bible because the Bible is claiming something that's not true about reality. Obviously, there are old Earth creationists, there are old Earth Christians, that believe in the Big Bang and evolution, and I would say that's the majority of Christians. And they also don't believe in flat Earth, and they look at the Scripture and either interpret it metaphorically, or they just say, well, this was actually written by men that didn't know what they were talking about. They were just speaking from their perception, what they saw. They see the sunrise, they see the sunset. But it wasn't meant to be a scientific textbook. And that's the way that flat earthers are trying to treat it. And so are frankly, young Earth creationists. They're trying to treat it as a science textbook. And you just can't do that. You can't read into that type of stuff. And there really are valid criticisms of the Bible, even from a Christian perspective. There's a lot of questions that atheists ask, for example, that are really legit questions that have to be addressed by Christians, or else, they have problems, and they really do. And that's the approach I come from. And I'm not a biblical scholar. I've read the Bible obviously a few times, but there's a lot of stuff there just isn't good answers for. And even from a Christian apologetics, which I did study for a while, as Christian apologetics, even from a Christian apologetics standpoint, you're better to just take most of the Bible as metaphor, because if you don't, you're running into serious problems. And that's where I stand on it, really.
Oh, cool.
Okay. That was long-winded, I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, it's good.
Dan Ball says, soundly, what causes the flat Earth sun to move towards the center to give seasons? And if the moon makes its own light, what is it made from? I mean, there isn't a good answer for that, which is why we aren't flat earthers. But would you like to comment?
Well, I mean, that's a question I quite like, because a lot of flat earthers, they just laugh about the idea of gravity. This magic force of gravity. They laugh, but yet they'll claim that the sun is moving in a circle above the flat Earth without even giving it two-second thought that sun is going to need a force to drive it around in a circle and for it to move in and out to create the seasons. So what force is that? They're replacing one magical force with another.
Right.
Except our magical force is predictable.
Right. And we're talking about, and they want to replace gravity with buoyancy, which, number one, makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Yeah. But okay, so the sun and the moon are lighter than air? I mean, how does that work? The whole thing makes no sense. So, and then that's when they start coming up with stuff like, oh, well, it must be a hologram. It's not even real, because otherwise it'd have to fall, right? So, and that's where that whole hologram moon came from, because people were asking them that question. It's like, well, how does the moon stay up there then?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was listening to Nathan Oakley's show the other day, just for 10 minutes on my way back from work, and he was ranting on about the sun not being a tangible. He was comparing the sun to like a rainbow. The position of the sun isn't fixed, and it's dependent on your angle you're looking at it and your location on the Earth. Everybody sees the sun in a different place, because if it was in the, if it had a fixed position, then it was a real object, and that's a problem for flat Earth.
Yeah,
crazy.
The thing that always boggles my mind with that is you realize that a rainbow is just reflecting colors. Like, there aren't actually physical features to the rainbow like we have on the sun and the moon. And if you want to, just don't even talk about the sun, because they're going to bring the whole glare thing becomes an issue. Just talk about the moon. There's obviously gigantic craters on that thing. I mean, look at it. Go get one of those fake moons and just hold it up, and you can tell it looks just like a ball. How do you avoid that? Well, no, it's just a hologram. It's like a rainbow. The rainbows don't have craters on them. Oh goodness! And also, rainbows don't you can't just keep moving and you keep seeing rainbow. It's like there has to be actually water mist in there.
Yeah. They're not predictable like the moon. The phases aren't.
Exactly. Yeah. I can go to mooncow.org right now and tell you where the moon's going to be at, midnight tonight. It's like, can't do that with a rainbow. The next one is from Let's see. I am Rick, Conspiracy Catz. Soundly, I saw a half moon 2 nights ago. It was only visible bottom up. Can you write a book on half moons? Thanks. I never know what to make of I am Rick because he's always joking. He's always trolling. Oh man, this chat jumps around whenever you're trying to scroll through it. So I just lost myself. Hold on a second. I am Rick again. Conspiracy Catz. Soundly, do you like T-bone steaks? Who doesn't?
Yes.
Who doesn't like T-bone steaks besides vegan? We're not going to talk about them. Soundly, do you remember telling me you thought God had chosen you to fight Flat Earth? Yeah, I wouldn't really put it into those words. No, I definitely feel like I'm motivated by, I guess justice, or what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm motivated to work against injustice. Is the way I perceive Flat Earth as an type of injustice that needs to be addressed. Conspiracy Catz, please say Pussy Nathan. It cracks me up every time.
Pussy Nathan.
That's from David XP. What's that?
Pussy Nathan. So I'll make it the intro on the Catz channel. Just little Pussy Nathan.
That's great. Creamy Pasta says, Sally, why can't right-wing Christians just understand that science is just looking around God's workshop? Disclaimer, I am not into religion one bit. I wouldn't say all right-wing Christians are that way. I mean, I know a lot of right-wing Christians that are science-minded engineers, computer scientists. Definitely, they're definitely not anti-science. I would say the majority of people are not anti-science. They're either completely unaware that there's even an anti-science movement, or they are pro-science. And then we have this handful of nutters that think everybody else is lying to them. You want to comment on that?
No, I agree. I mean, the first time I heard that, what's that term they use, scientism? The first time I heard that, because I'm quite new to this, that was a whole new thing to me. That these people are like anti-science and think it's some sort of, construct to blind us. It's just, yeah. I don't know. I'm lost for words.
What is this? You see anything jumping out at you?
Let's have a look. Right.
So there's this Glim guy that says, Conspiracy Catz, electrostatics levitates and gives the mechanism. I guess he's talking about the moon and sun traveling across the flat plane.
Wow, that's is he trolling with that, or is he serious with that one?
I'm not sure. I don't recognize Glim. Let's see what else he says in that comment. Simon Dan, Blue Army. Sean McGuile, do tell me how gravity is not confirmed wrong. I don't. Did I read that correctly? Sean McGuile, do tell me how gravity is not confirmed wrong. So he's saying that gravity is confirmed wrong?
Yeah. So let me guess, he's going to say that there were flaws in the Cavendish experiment, and he should have put it in a box, and there was a draft. That seems to be the common debunk.
That's what they're going with these days. They're just going to disregard the thousands of other times the Cavendish experiment has been done.
Well, that's it. We all know experiments are only ever done once and they're never repeated. That's
are they really thinking that way?
I've spoken to some that when I brought up Cavendish, they've talked about how Cavendish himself actually did it, and why he was wrong. And seem totally unaware that there's been, like you say, thousands and thousands of repeats that give you exactly the same answer.
Well, not just that. There's other ways to. There have been other experiments for measuring big G, not just Cavendish. So there's other experiments that are also coming to the same value from a different approach, and there's a lot of them. There's like, I'll look this up at some point. I think you can. It's on a Wikipedia article somewhere, like experiments that have measured big G.
And when you take that value for big G, right, and you take the calculated mass of the Earth, and you take the calculated radius of the Earth, that's where you derive little g from, isn't it? Which is what we see. If those numbers are wrong, but yet they're still driving 9.8 meters per second squared.
Right.
Hell of a coincidence, isn't it?
Right. I'd like to know how they explain acceleration with the whole buoyancy thing anyway. Like if I go up into a vomit comet with a density tower, I can shake up oil and water and it'll just happily just keep floating in globs. It won't sort itself while I'm falling in a vomit comet, in a parabolic flight. So how do they explain that? Why doesn't density-based sorting work when they're literally touching each other? They're right there next to each other and they're not doing it. Why? How did we turn that off? I actually had somebody tell me, well, of course, because it's 0 G. Exactly. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Oh, brilliant.
Let's see.
Sorry, go on.
What are you saying? Go ahead.
No, I would just say it cracks me up when they put the egg in the water and they put the salt in, to make the egg float. The independent variable is the density of the water. So therefore, density is the reason things fall and sink. It's like, how many times have we heard that? Although having said that, the independent variable in that experiment is actually adding the salt. We know from prior experiment that it affects the density. And that's, I've had this argument with Nathan and Anthony that, you with
the
his
amount, the amount of salt is the independent variable.
Yeah. And it's not they'll say, yeah, but when you add the salt, you are altering the density. And I say, well, yeah, and you're building on prior knowledge. So you can't just take one experiment and say, there you go, look what I've proven. You've got to look at the prior knowledge. So instead of just saying, right, well, we know from prior knowledge that it affects density. Well, let's go back one more. Well, from prior knowledge, why does density make things fall or sink? Can't do that. The independent variables are salt. We'll stop asking questions there, shall we?
Well, it seems like such a basic concept. It's like, okay, well, you have gravity working on this mass. Like, let's say a racquetball in water, for example. You have gravity working on this mass, this column of water above the racquetball. And it literally is being pulled down around the racquetball. And that's why the racquetball goes up. Because the racquetball is lighter due to, whatever you want to call it, density. Yeah, it is lighter. But it's not working against gravity. It's literally gravity that's making it rise.
Yeah, and gravity's not stopping on the ball, is it? It's working on both.
Exactly. And but that's where they want to go whenever they talk about butterflies can fly, but water sticks to the earth. How does that make any sense? Type thing. Like, what? Butterflies have wings? Mendel says, soundly conspiracy cats, would you say that learning science from YouTube is less effective than doing it traditionally, as consuming a video leaves less space for own thoughts, creating flat earthers?
I don't think so. I think it's highly convenient. You just got to be intelligent about what videos you're looking for and make sure that the video is answering the question that you've got. If you've got a specific question, if you want to learn how to turn radians into degrees, or if you want to learn, Kepler's laws, there's a video out there for you. If you just, I think it's a really efficient, effective way. It doesn't stop you asking questions afterwards.
Obviously, the source that you're getting the information from has got to be credible, right?
Exactly.
It's got to make sense. I mean, actually doing an experiment and watching that happen, I don't think that takes away from your own thoughts. No, I think it can explain a phenomenon. Good channel for that is Action Lab. Action Lab does a lot of cool experiments, and so you can learn a lot of stuff there. Like he did a really cool one on what was it called? Super cooling, where he like
was that when he altered the magnet?
No, this one was like water. It was in a liquid state, and he cooled it down really cold, but it wasn't solid. And then he just like tapped it, and it just the whole thing froze all at once. I mean, stuff like that you can do at home. I mean, I think that's very valuable. Why not? You know, you can teach people things that they wouldn't normally see or think to even interact with. So yeah, I think you learn a lot. You can definitely learn a lot from science videos on YouTube, but doesn't mean that should be your primary educational source. If you're trying to get a degree in science, go to college. You know? Or, I mean, they do have online courses too. I'm not sure how many online labs they have though. Sean Hufford says, Sally, Anthony just asked me for a favor, told him where to stick it. That's good. Sally, Cool Hard Logic's World of Batship Hologram Moon was the funniest of all time. The guy uses a marijuana cigarette as a pointer. Wow.
I've got to find that video.
Danger Man 5 says, Sally, can the curvature of the Earth vary due to the gravitational pull? Well, there is a geoid, which is based on the local gravity. So I guess it could. Yeah. It would vary slightly. I'm not sure you'd actually be able to measure it. I'm not sure how slightly. That'd be a Jessica Kozlowski question.
I was watching a video on YouTube the other day, and I forget who it was by now, but it was from some university somewhere, and they were talking about how the sea actually isn't. Well, I'm not going to say flat. It isn't perfectly level. There is a topography to the sea because of the variations in gravity. You know, there are sort of like hills and troughs.
Right. Yeah,
and that, not waves, you know.
And that makes sense, but we're also, you got to keep in mind that the scale of those hills and troughs is massive. Yeah. Like they're long hills. Like there's not like all of a sudden a mountain in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
But also, we all know that there are tides. So obviously the water sloshes, around. It's not like it's all the same height all the time. But for the stuff we do, it's good enough. Those skills. Sally asked Conspiracy Cats to say, oh, okay, he already said that. Sally, maybe we're all living on the Truman Show. I find that highly unlikely. And Kaiser posted a link about something I was talking about. Jim Panda says, I would like to ask Conspiracy Cats if he is jealous of Sally's hair.
Oh, just send that one, yeah. Yes, I am.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, I'm holding on to it for as long as I can.
But, yeah, I think my days are numbered.
My brother's lost all his. He just picks it. That's where he goes with it. Well, I think that's pretty much the end of it. If anybody doesn't have any more questions, Miles Davis, Sally asks Conspiracy Cats whether the Cuminards are going to reform. I have no idea what that means. You have to enlighten us.
Oh, Jimmy Somerville reference, I think. I'll be going on tour early in the new year. Yeah, I get a lot of stick for looking like the love child of Jimmy Somerville and a potato. So on my channel, I think that's where that's come from.
Paul Ward says, Sally, explain how we figured out the gravitational constant. I mean, all I know is what I've studied, just researching how anybody else does by Googling it. The Cavendish experiment, obviously, there are other experiments I have read about them. I haven't ever actually done one. Sly Sparkane has done a partial experiment, like the Cavendish experiment, where he did set up the balls and showed that they were attracted. He didn't do the full-blown one, but he did show that mass attracts mass, which was a very interesting experiment. Jesse Kozlowski, thank you for showing up. Geoid models. He's actually linking geoid models, which is what I referred to a minute ago, and said that Jesse Kozlowski would be a good person to talk to. So take a look at that if you have not yet. S2000 GT says, Sally, how did you get that bridge to bend? I didn't get it to bridge. I didn't get it to bend. It just does. Sally asks Conspiracy Cats where it keeps jumping around on me. That's really frustrating. I lost it. Here it is. Stanley, ask Conspiracy Cats what holds the sun and moon up on the flat Earth. We just talked about that a second ago. We don't have a mechanism, right?
Well, that's it. A magical force.
Yeah.
Well, what did Gleam say? Electrostatic forces. So electrostatic forces that only affect the sun and moon, and everything else is immune to them.
There's a lot of questions I don't understand from random Jasmic or random Jasmike, or I'm not sure what it is.
Oh yeah, he's a cool guy. What's he said?
He says, what Conspiracy Cats is a Lambda CDM? Apparently the globe needs it, whatever it is.
Lambda CDM? Oh, I don't know. I mean, Lambda tend to use that to represent wavelengths, don't they? I'm not sure what Lambda. I'd have to look that up. Sorry.
Me as well. I have no idea. Fight the Flat Earth asks if I've received my NASA shield check this month. It should be coming in any day now with the Christmas bonus and the free Netflix for a year. That's coming soon. Sally, Conspiracy Cats, you are my favorite YouTubers right now. Thanks for this chat. That's from Mendel. Thank you.
Cheers, Mendel.
Area 85 Restoration. Sally, how do you keep calm talking with flat earthers? I pretend like they're my dog and I'm trying to train them. That's the easiest way.
It is hard, isn't it? It is hard.
Yeah, there have been a few times where I've melted down, and I'm sure somebody has those clips somewhere. But I was talking to Katz about this before. I feel like if it's just 100% ridicule all the time, then there's a lot of fence riders that are going to be turned off by that and probably fall the wrong way. But I think there's room for ridicule, and that's where I'm a little bit different than Mick West, because Mick West just avoids all ridicule. But I think there are some people that need to be ridiculed because they need to be discredited, because they're the gurus that are trying to con all these people. And so those people, yeah, I think they need to be ridiculed. And that's where Grandpa Stanley comes in, which he's due to make a new skit here pretty soon. So see what happens.
Brilliant. And can I get your promise that he'll read out Chatbox Travels at some point?
I would love to do that. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll be in.
Absolutely. Let's communicate. The problem with Grandpa Stanley, now that I'm showing my face, is I don't have a character for him. I can't be myself. I'm gonna have to go get an old man mask or something. Is that it? Stanley, will you host a debate with Nathan Oakley, not on his channel, away from his mute button? Sure. Yeah, I would. It would have to be, the other side of it would have to be someone that I know as a debunker, and I'm familiar with their material and I know what they're talking about, because this is actually something I could bring up with you here, Katz, is that, and it has been an hour, so I'm trying to wrap this up. But, whenever the media goes and interviews these flat earthers, and then the other side of it, if there is another side, because there's not always another side, but if there is another side, it's always somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I really think he's out of his depth, because he isn't on the ground floor actually hearing the arguments coming from flat earthers and how to respond to them. Yeah. His responses are like a little too generic, and his responses actually are like, they've actually already like pre-programmed their minions to expect that response, and they have an answer for it. Yeah. And I don't think those guys really understand what, how to answer these flat earthers. That's why I really wish they, would bring on a Simon, bring on a Katz, bring on Sly Sparkane, bring on one of these other guys that has been on the ground actually interacting with these people and knows how to respond.
Well, it's surprising. I it took me a long time to understand the level of nonsense that they come out with. You know, you think you say something that's perfectly reasonable, and they'll come back with, you know, collimation or angle of attack. You know, and it's just crazy terms, and you think, well, where's that come from? Like you say, you know, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, they're not thinking at that lower level, are they? They need someone a bit more stupid, like like me.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say a bit more stupid. I would just say a bit more cognizant of the stupidity. You know, like that's where I would go with it. I mean, it's exactly they really do. They produce nonsense. They create like a nonsense generator where they just produce nonsense. And unless you know how to parse that, unless you know the trap they're trying to put you in, because that's what a lot of them are doing, you'll walk right into it. And I think people like Neil deGrasse Tyson do, because he's just not, you know, here seeing it every day.
Mm.
Nathan Oakley is in the chat. He says he would destroy me in a debate. Okay.
Well, we'll never know, because he'll never step up.
Yeah, unless you're willing to come off your channel and have a debate in a different channel, which you did try and do once, by the way, and then you left. And I actually made a video on that because you were a coward, Nathan. So thanks for stopping by.
Was that on the Non Sequitur show when he went on and walked off?
I think so, yeah. Actually, I have a video on it somewhere. Yeah, I think it was Non Sequitur, yeah. Mm-hmm. Adam L says, soundly, if you have any and are able, show Conspiracy Catz one of your pictures for him to try to prove the globe. Easy done, by the way. Vulcan hand for some reason. I think you've seen my pictures, haven't you?
Oh, in fact, I put one in one of my videos last week. I did link you in the description. I did credit you with it. Was it the last video or the video before? Yeah. No, I've seen plenty of your pictures. Yeah. In fact, I've downloaded quite a lot, and when the opportunity comes up, I'll sneak them in.
Yeah. So I do have a kind of a persistent drive folder that's linked in most of my videos, I believe, and it has I think it's named Truth Nails, and it has a bunch of different photos, my observations that anybody can download. They're already watermarked with my name on it.
Right, okay.
Download them and share them, whoever wants to. I do have a lot of unique observations that just don't ever see the light of day for some reason. Like we're so focused on other stuff. But I mean, a good example is Alabama, Mobile Bay. Mobile Bay's in Alabama is just right down the road from me, like 3 hours away. And you can see same exact thing you see like with Toronto or New Orleans, you know, obstruction over water. Just anywhere you go where you have, you know, a decent amount, I'd say 15 miles. If you have 15 miles or more, anywhere you go, you're going to see clear obstruction. It's going to be easy. And I like using those. I'll just say that I like using the 15 to 20 mile mark because it helps you avoid the edge cases. Because refraction is variable; it changes, especially over water and weather conditions. So if you get somewhere like around 7 miles, you know, those shorter distances, refraction can really play havoc with your observation. You know, it's hard to. It becomes more relevant at those shorter distances, but at the longer distances, the amount that refraction actually will affect the observation is much less relevant, I find, anyway. It's very hard because the curvature of the Earth actually becomes more relevant than the refraction. At least that's my experience. I have no math to back that up, but at 20 miles, good luck with looming conditions that's going to pull up 200 feet. Good luck with that. Yeah. Very, very hard conditions to find. It's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm talking too much. Okay. A lot of people talking smack with Nathan now. Soundly, thanks for the observations or videos. You're welcome. Soundly, why don't you sound like Soundly? I don't sound like Soundly? Really? Soundly, ask Conspiracy Catz, how can flattards use GPS data when the fact GPS exists proves the Earth is a globe?
But again, it's another good question, isn't it? All part of the conspiracy. that we never have any evidence of or any explanation of how it works or anybody admitting to being a part of. But it's obviously there. Digital plagues in the comments. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah, I can't see any comments from Nathan. I wonder if he's got me banned.
Well, it looks like Marvel Girl deleted a comment by Nathan. You don't have to delete them, Marvel Girl. Just let them ride. But he said "circle jerk of morons" is what he said. That was his intelligent comment.
He's a good boy, isn't he?
Man, his tears fill up Lake Pontchartrain on a regular basis. It's awesome.
It's a bit ironic, though, isn't it? When you base your whole life off being surrounded by the same 5 people, talking the same thing every single day and patting each other on the back to then accuse someone else of being in a circle jerk.
Yeah.
But
here is a relevant question, actually. Fulmer Duckworth says, Soundly, could you ask Conspiracy Cats if he is going to work with Simon Dan on astronomy lessons? Sorry for the repeat posting. I am hoping he is going to work with him.
You know what? Simon Dan knows far, far, far more about astronomy than me. I'm chatting to him just briefly about this in the past. I used to teach astronomy to GCSE level, which is like 16-year-olds here. And, you know, all the theory and stuff was great. But because we used to teach it and it was daytime in the school, we never got the hands-on experience of actually getting the telescopes out, locating the stuff, because it was daytime, you know. So the theory is all there, but I know that Dan's really competent when it comes to all that. And I know he's posted that he's going to start doing live astronomy lectures, isn't he? And I think you know, I certainly am looking forward to watching them, and I'll learn a lot from it, I'm sure. So no, I'll not be doing anything with him on it because he knows far, far, far more than I do when it comes to it. But I'll certainly be watching.
Yeah, I'm a hobbyist with amateur astronomy and astrophotography. I really like doing it, and I'm definitely interested in it. So when Dan does his videos, I will be watching and learning. There's no doubt about that. And that's the best thing about our side of things. We actually like learning things from other people. We don't know everything, and we know we don't know everything, and it's okay. You know, it's okay to say that too. And these, you know, the guys that we combat on a daily basis, they want to pretend like they know everything, which is crazy.
Well, that's it. You know, when you hear a flat Earth debate, it doesn't matter where it goes, whether it goes to gyroscopes or whether it goes to refraction or seismology or whatever. They will argue that they are 100% right. You know, I've never heard one of them stand back and say, well, hang on, I don't actually know anything about seismology and P waves and S waves, or, you know, so I'm out my depth here. They've always got an answer, and usually that answer's nonsense because they don't know what they're talking about, but they'll never admit it. You know, they'll fight the corner almost like they're an expert in everything.
Right. Have you ever seen an earthquake that's actually mapped on a flat Earth map? Like as the
not on a flat Earth map, no.
It's very, very revealing. Like when you actually see that the waves actually like, so you have your flat map, right? The waves actually like skip this whole ring right here. You know, it's like they're right here going, and all of a sudden they just stop for a whole ring, and then they show up down here in the southern hemisphere. You know, like and there's the echo down here, and you're like, how did that happen? Well, they traveled through the Earth.
So they're the P wave shadows on it. So the P wave shadows.
Exactly. If you map those patterns to a flat Earth, it's like so nonsensical. You know, it's so obvious. It's like, oh well, it's not flat.
Yeah.
It's actually really interesting, and I wish I knew more about it because it is one of those like slap you in the face things. The problem with those is, you know, then they can just say, well, of course, it's all part of the conspiracy because this is like sensors all around the map, all controlled by NASA.
Well, I had a brilliant rebuttal from that when I was chatting to Sleeping Warrior. I brought up the S waves and the P waves, and he literally said to me, the whole of seismology is wrong. Like literally, seismology as a science is just wrong, and that was his rebuttal.
I'm sure he had a very good explanation for that, right? In a whole nother field that he had created.
He found an article. I found an article on the internet where some seismologists had dug a hole, quite a deep hole, and they were a bit surprised by the findings. I think there was either more water than they thought there'd be, or less water, or something like that. And that was it. Seismologists get things wrong. That was his answer, because he got that wrong. So therefore, the whole science of predicting earthquakes, mapping out PNS, this whole complex science, we can just brush aside and not even pay any attention to, because somebody found something they didn't expect at the bottom of a hole.
Well, that's exactly what science is after, isn't it? We're after something that we don't expect, right? So we can make our models better. Isn't that the whole point of science?
Exactly.
Like whenever they found the Higgs boson, everybody was like, okay, now we've got to do something, now we got to do something different to try and find new science, because we've pretty much, confirmed that the model's complete now. So now how do we go deeper? They're actually a little worried. I remember at the time after the fact, when they found it, they were like really excited. But after the fact, they were like, now what do we do? So anyway, Sean Hufford says, "Oh my God, people, this is not the real Nathan Oakley. It is an imposter account."
Disappointing.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Unless you have anything else, you want to close with anything, Conspiracy Cast? You want to pitch anything?
Well, yeah, I'm going to plug something that I was asleep. Well, I was trying to sleep last night and I couldn't. And an idea came to my head. You might have seen it on the Twitter feed this morning. But I have a bit of a charity quiz before Christmas. Team UK versus Team Rest of the World. And I was going to host it on my channel, where for charity we would have. We've already got the Team UK team. We've got Fight the Flat Earth, Simon Dan, and Young Blue Skeptic. And I'll be the quiz master. We've got Plainer Work already for the rest of the world. Godless Engineer has said he's going to do it. We're looking. Oh, and McToon is also. So they're the teams. And the idea is, when it goes out, any super chats will go to charity, and it will be to see Team UK or the rest of the world, who are the champions, and then we can ride it over each other, for 12 months before we do it again. So I'm hoping it's ride it over each other. That's a bit of a dodgy term, isn't it? Maybe, yes. I'm hoping maybe this weekend sometime, but I haven't passed that date with anybody
and
else.
what are the quiz topics? What is it going to be? It's just going to be random quiz.
Oh no, round one. Have you heard of Mastermind in America? Did you get that in America?
Yeah. I remember that.
So you get to choose. Yeah. So everybody will send me a specialist subject, and I'll research it, and I'll give them 10 questions on their subject, and then another round's called 10 in 10, where I'm going to, for example, say to you, you've got 10 seconds to give me 10 words beginning with the letter W. And if you get me all 10, you get 10 points. Just silly little things like that. There'll be 3 rounds, and then we'll declare a winner. The winning team gets to choose a charity. The super chat money goes to.
Nice.
Bit of fun before Christmas. So other than that, that's it. What have you got on the horizon?
Good luck with that. Just the January observations that are coming up. I do have an interview coming up with Sean G. that's going to be airing December 24th, Christmas Eve. Cool. We're going to pre-record that one instead of doing a live stream, just because everybody will be busy on Christmas Eve. But if you're bored on Christmas Eve and your family's giving you grief, you can just come watch that that interview with Sean G.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty much it. Thanks, Catz. Really appreciate you coming. I'm just going to call you Catz because you have 2 channels, and both of them have cats in it.
Well, thanks for having us on. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for inviting us on. I'll be in touch about the Chatbox travels.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good.
But thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Really appreciate that, man. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.